gold is going up. As almost the only reason they're talking about it is to dismiss it and to laugh at and say, hey, look at all these fools buying gold, right? They're just chasing this market, right? It's just going up for no reason. But gold is being bought for real serious reasons by serious people who are, moving real money, right? Not the money, the money that's going into these meme coins. This is gambling money. There are people that are buying $5 or $10 worth of Farcoin. I mean, there is serious money. There is millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars moving into the gold market. And what is it moving out of? Because that's also significant. It's not just that people are buying gold. What are they selling to get the money? Well, they're selling their dollars.
In today's news recap, gold's luster undimmed. Prices hit records above 3,300. Gold prices pierced the 3,300 an ounce barrier to hit record highs as investors sought a refuge from the turbulence surrounding trade tensions between the United States and China. Spot gold hit a record of $3,317.90 per ounce on Wednesday, resuming a rally based on U.S. President Donald Trump's tariff policies, robust central bank buying, and prospects of interest rate cuts by the Federal Reserve. Gold is recalibrating to reflect the current state of world affairs. If the price is telling us something, then it's a distinct warning bell, said independent analyst Ross Norman. High conviction buying that commenced about a year ago, likely unreported central bank buying, is being compounded by buying on price strength. Bullion has gained around 26% so far this year, in a rise that has drawn comparisons with its 1980 rally during the Iranian Revolution, when prices shot up around 118% between November 1979 and January 1980. Trump on Tuesday rolled out the latest of his tariff policies, ordering an investigation into potential new levies on all U.S. critical minerals imports and other goods. Now we'll show you the best clips of the latest interview. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you do not miss out our daily recaps. And check goldsilverstacks.com to get your Stacker's Handbook, the ultimate guide to stack gold and silver, packed with strategies to trade the gold-silver ratio and get more ounces and build wealth over time, so you don't have to rely on market commentators to make your investment decisions. Enjoy the episode.
The big story of the week continues to be the relentless rise of the price of gold, hitting new record high after another. We just finished this holiday shortened week, and tomorrow is Good Friday, and so this Sunday is Easter. I got my Sundays mixed up on the last podcast, but gold managed to rise 2.7% this 4-day week. Gold yesterday hit a new record high above 3,360. We closed the week, I think, at 3,330. That is a huge move. In fact, yesterday, gold had its biggest one-day price increase, dollar-wise, in history. At one point, I think it was up $114. I think it closed up about $109. Now, I've been in the investment business for over 30 years. I've never seen the price of gold rise by $100 in one day. I've now seen it 3 times, although it didn't always close that high, but 3 times since Liberation Day. So we really liberated gold on Liberation Day, but this is a big deal to see gold moving up like this. And, I was forecasting years ago that one day we would see gold moving in much bigger increments. Now, I know as the price of gold gets higher and higher, when you're talking about $3,000 gold, $100 is not what it used to be. When gold was 300, 400, 500, right? If it moved 100, it would be much bigger. But, I think we're going to see days where gold's up 200, 300. I mean, those days are coming. But what's more significant, even than the increase in the price of gold, is the fact that nobody cares. Nobody pays attention. I've said this before, but it bears repeating. When you don't know there's a bubble, you don't see the pin. And that, is something that I came up with that line during the housing crisis, because a lot of people, even after 2007, after the subprime market really started to collapse, most people just shrugged it off. They didn't care. They thought it was nothing. They thought it was contained. I knew it wasn't, because I knew we were in a bubble, and I knew that subprime pricked it. But because the mainstream had no idea that we had been living all those years in a bubble, they didn't notice the pin. I did. Well, gold is the pin, and Trump is the one that inserted it into the bubble. Now, gold was already rising before Liberation Day, but Trump really stuck it in there, and the bubble is deflating. But if you don't know that there's a bubble to deflate, well, you don't realize that it's been pricked. And so you kind of make excuses for the pin, which is what CNBC is doing again. I mean, they did it before, when I was coming on their air back in 2006 and 7 and 8, even warning about the housing market and the financial crisis that would ensue when it popped. And they just labeled me Dr. Doom, and they had a lot of fun laughing at me and making fun of me until all my predictions came true. And then they kind of stopped inviting me on, although they still invited me on a little bit, just not as much. And then they eventually, once the Bitcoin advertisers, showed up, they basically banned me completely. Maybe those things are just a coincidence. I don't know. But it's interesting that the talking heads on CNBC are oblivious to gold and the bubble that's been pricked. They're as oblivious to this one as they were to the housing bubble. But anyway, so I'm watching. I get up early in the morning, and I'm not sleeping that well. So much stuff is happening at night. I get up and I check the markets, and then it piques my interest. I try to go back to.
In today's news recap, gold soars past $3,200 as trade war deepens. Dollar loses ground. Gold blazed past the $3,200 mark on Friday as a faltering dollar and an escalating U.S.-China trade war stirred recession fears, sending investors flocking to the safety of the yellow metal. Spot gold was up 2% at $3,236.67 an ounce after hitting a record high of $3,243.82 earlier in the session. Bullion is up over 6% this week. U.S. gold futures climbed 2.4% to $3,253.20. Gold is clearly seen as the favored safe haven asset in a world upended by Trump's trade war. The U.S. dollar has depreciated, and U.S. treasuries are selling off hard as faith in the U.S. as a reliable trading partner has diminished, said Nitesh Shah, commodities strategist at Wisdom Tree. China increased its tariffs on U.S. imports to 125% on Friday, raising the stakes in a confrontation between the world's two largest economies. The dollar fell against its peers, making greenback-priced bullion cheaper for overseas buyers. A combination of central bank buying, U.S. Federal Reserve rate, cut expectations, geopolitical instabilities, and a surge of investor flows into gold-backed ETFs has also supported gold's rally this year. U.S. monthly producer prices unexpectedly fell 0.4% in March, but tariffs on imports are expected to drive inflation higher in the coming months. Traders now bet that the Fed will resume cutting rates in June and see around 90 basis points worth of cuts by the end of 2025. A minor correction for gold wouldn't surprise, but the path forward is up and away as CPI and PPI gives the Fed more room to cut and will keep downward pressure on the dollar, said Tai Wong, an independent metals trader. Spot silver gained 2.7% to $32.05 an ounce, while platinum added 0.2% to $939.80. Palladium advanced 0.6% to $191.50, $913.65. Now we'll show you the best clips of the latest interview. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you do not miss out our daily recaps. And check goldsilverstacks.com to get your Stacker's Handbook, the ultimate guide to stack gold and silver, packed with strategies to trade the gold-silver ratio and get more ounces and build wealth over time so you don't have to rely on market commentators to make your investment decisions. Enjoy the episode.
And so I get up and the price of gold is up $100 an ounce, or 90 at that. Maybe it was only 90 at that time. And I'm like, God, I got it. This is a new record high. We're above 3,300 and I'm like, okay, yeah. I mean, this should be the lead story, right? I mean, you're supposedly this financial news channel. You're going to be bringing your audience the big financial news of the morning. And you got gold up almost $100, you would think that this should be the first thing that they talk about because, this is not just some commodity, some random commodity. This is gold. Gold is special in the world of finance, right? Gold is the canary in the economic coal mine, and it's even yellow, right? So you're supposed to pay attention to gold. And so I'm watching in bed, and, I don't want to wake my wife up. So I've just got the earpiece in and I'm watching it, and the whole hour goes by and they don't mention gold once, not once. Now, yeah, there's a ticker on the bottom that's, going by, gold hits a record high, but the on-air anchors who are talking about all kinds of stuff that they feel is important, they don't mention gold once. Now, they actually mentioned Bitcoin. They didn't dwell on it. They said, hey, let's check Bitcoin. Oh, Bitcoin's flat. They didn't bother to check gold, which was anything but flat, which maybe is why they didn't want to mention it. They don't want to call attention to the fact that gold is way up and Bitcoin's not, right? Because they're trying to get their audience to buy Bitcoin because they're telling them it's digital gold. So they don't really want the audience to know. So anyway, I post on X, hey, I watched for this whole hour, and they haven't even said anything on Squawk Box. And I tag, Joe Kernan. Now, it's his show. Then the second hour goes by. They don't mention it again. We're 2 hours into a 3-hour show. Now, gold's above. It's up more than $100 an ounce. It's gone up more. So gold's up more than 100, something that rarely happens. The big financial news of the morning. And the whole second hour goes by. Not one mention of the price of gold. So then in the commercial, I posted up there again. I tagged Joe Kernan. I can't believe these guys they're still not mentioning gold. Right. So then the very first thing they talk about at the beginning of the third hour is gold. And I know they're only talking about it because I goaded them into it. Because the first thing that Joe Kernan says is, well, there's people out there, gloating now, doing victory laps about gold. Right. So he's talking about me. Right. It's not that there's some random people out there. There's just me. Because I'm posted on X and I'm tagging the guy, and I'm getting, I have a lot of followers on X. So, but now I'm not making this stuff up. So they start talking about gold being up, and so there's a woman. It's not just Joe Kernan. There's a woman up there. I don't know her name. I don't want to insult her. I just don't know her name, right? But anyway, so she makes an observation. She says, "Yeah, gold's really going up. It's kind of acting like a meme coin these days. A meme coin." She thinks gold is a meme coin. I mean, that shows you how little she knows about meme coins and gold. But so she really believes, and this is the on-air expert, right? The anchor, right? She's not a guest. She's a regular paid correspondent that just is there, right? And she thinks that foreign central bankers, right? These, smart guys, older seasoned people that are working at these central banks and these other sophisticated investors around the world who are buying gold. They're the same as kids buying fart coin. I mean, she thinks there's no difference between gold and fart coin. There's night and day. This is a significant move. But rather than saying, hey, gold's really going up, I mean, should we be concerned? What warning is gold giving us? She says, well, it must be like fart coin. It's acting like a meme coin. It's just going up. Meme coins go way up because there's very little liquidity. There's massive liquidity in the gold market. When you move gold $100 an ounce, that takes real money. I mean, you can move fart coin with a tweet or a post, and just a little bit of money. There is no comparison. So
what do you think of Peter Schiff's relentless warnings about the dollar and his longstanding conviction in gold? Is he finally about to be proven right as global trust in fiat starts to waver? Or is this just more noise in a volatile cycle? Do you believe we're on the cusp of that monetary reset he's been talking about for years? Or do you think central banks still have room to kick the can down the road? More importantly, are you protecting yourself? Are you stacking physical gold and silver like Schiff recommends? Or are you exploring other hedges like foreign equities, commodities, or even Bitcoin? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Now watch this video right here because it's a perfect fit for you. I'll see you on the other side.